three. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Corey? Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you. This morning's opening hymn is number 347. Gather the Spirit. Please rise in body and or spirit, and let us sing together. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Dennis, and it is truly a pleasure to serve as this morning's worship associate for this service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County, which is commonly known as UUFCC. This service is being broadcast live via YouTube, and it is our practice to use only first names, and when helpful, a last initial. This practice, we hope, protects people's privacy. I wish to express my gratitude to Corey and Doug and Tom for their work with our technology. Special thanks to Ryan S., our pianist, and to Janet and members of our choir that help lead us in singing. Finally, to all those that served as greeters and made treats for after the service, for those that decorated, and all those that helped make this service possible, thank you. I would like to remind you of a couple procedural items that will help the broadcast and real time run smoothly. For those who are watching on YouTube, you may wish to have a candle or a chalice available for our chalice lighting time. Please remember to silence your phones. If you're with us for the first time, please stand or raise your hand and wait for Doug to bring the hand microphone. And then tell us your first name, where you're from, so that we can greet you after the service. Are there any of those here? Please.
Well, I'm the only one who. I was born in Chile, South America, and I've been here, a resident of this country since 1977. And I miss dog. People, they say, where's your accent from? From ignorance, lady. If I knew any better, I would sound just like you. So, so anyway, I love you. I heard I've been my thing to check out religions, all of them, because I believe all of them, they have something to offer. It's like they said that the blind, wise people, they were seeing the elephant for the first time, and everyone was telling what it was. And so it's pretty much what I think. Everyone has a little piece of the manual. But I believe God is good and is not sadistic or masochist. And I had something very special that when I was 19, and I was popular in Chile as a singer, and I wrote a song about the land, the earth to be an island. And it was not enough way to prove just my idea and download it from some other thing. And the most important thing in that island, there was no killing. And we're talking about a God omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent that is able to do no impossible. So this island was fantastic. Our brothers, they play God, and they screwed up the whole thing. And they edited books, the Roman, to their thing. Jesus never said, I'm the only Son of God. He would never say, you do better things than I. Would never say like that. He said, I'm the truth, I'm the way. Yes, that I can share, but not with people dogmatic that cannot understand the oneness. I believe right now the most important thing out of what I found out, the law of ones, and the what is another book that they wrote with the Christians, with the journey with it's very popular. I think you also have, use it. These people. Never mind. Okay, see, that was too long. Okay, never mind. Okay.
We'll have a social time afterwards.
You got it right. And then I shut up. Okay.
Thank you. Are there others that are here for the first time? Okay. We are a progressive and inclusive spiritual community. We value the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, and offer a caring and diverse religious community guided by reason, conscience, compassion. We are encouraged to intellectual inquiry. We are fostering growth and prompting social action and justice and environmental responsibility. Our welcome is genuine. And now Ryan will bless us with the prelude. Thank you. The lighting of the chalice is a ritual that unites Unitarian Universalists everywhere. It is a symbol of so many of our values: love, guidance, courage, sacrifice, illumination, passion, and light of community. No single interpretation is sacrosanct over others. Like our faith, they are all inclusive and accepted. Now, as Cheryl comes forward to light our flame, please join me in the recitation of the chalice lighting that is printed in your order of service. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our aspiration, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. Our second hymn is number 23 in the gray hymnal, Bring Many Names. We will be singing verses 1, 2, 3, and finally 6. Our opening words were written by David Poole. They are in a form of a responsive reading. So if you'll take your gray hymnal, and in the back on page 436, you will find the reading. I will read the print, and then you follow with the italicized font. We come to this time and place to renew our faith in the holiness, goodness, and beauty of life.
To reaffirm the way of the open mind and full heart.
To rekindle the flame of memory and hope, and
to reclaim the vision of an earth made fair, with all her people one.
we have a long tradition at UUFCC of sharing our joys, sorrows, and life milestones. by entering them into the Red Book. These messages can be either written in the Red Book or you can send them to Book of Life at UUFCC.org no later than this Saturday, and the worship associate will read them and enter them into the book. And I think I left the Red Book right here. Oh, here it is over here, sorry. I brought it up in the name of efficiency. We have one entry. Some of us may remember Paige Stunkert. I certainly do. Well, her daughter Jan, a trained singer who sang here on occasion, her husband Charles Shaw passed away on April 28th after a long illness. Contact Ted Z if you would like further information. Now I would invite folks to drop stones. This ritual is again a way we can share our joys, our concerns, and life milestones. So if you want to drop a stone in the bowl, please come forward now. I believe so, yes.
I would like to thank Mary Lou for putting that article that I wrote on the 2 eclipses in the newsletter. Thank you.
Don't forget the stone.
Oh, yeah. It was in the middle of the eclipse.
I would like to thank my dear friend Janet for coming up here last weekend and giving that speech about Brandon. That's part of the reason I wasn't here, although she got one major crucial part wrong. It was Arkansas, not Arizona.
I know that.
I grilled her privately after that. So thank you, Janet. And then the next thing I wanted to share is a joy. You all know that I'm part of this team right here, the Southwest Florida Predators. We actually just had a game last night where we are now officially the South Division champions, and we will be going to the playoffs.
May we hold these and our unspoken joys and sorrows in our hearts. May we also hold one another in love and tenderness, so that this fellowship may be a source of strength and comfort, courage and hope in the days and weeks ahead. I will drop this last stone. I will drop this last stone for all those joys and sorrows that have not been spoken. Okay.
I have to make an altitude adjustment, or you won't see or hear me at all. For those of you at home, I'm going to describe very quickly the table that is before me with the chalice in flame on it. There is a woman I take to be Indian in a pose of meditation and prayer. There's someone from the Far East, maybe Thailand, something like that, dancing. There's another man, cross-legged, what I couldn't do the best day I ever lived, in meditation. There's a lovely cross made of stones, and it's just something I've never seen before. There's a Hanukkah menorah, and there's a beautiful gong. These are representations of the great world religions, and it's as if the committee who did this wonderful work was looking over my shoulder when I wrote my sermon for today. I'm going to ask you to take out your gray book again, great minds thinking alike. Turn to the reading in the back, 657. And while you're finding 657, let me tell you that some of the most intelligent, compassionate, thoughtful, and energizing to me people I've ever known are Unitarian Universalist religious educators. This reading comes from the Unitarian religious educator, Sophia Lyon Foz, who's always been a great model for me. So if you'll join me, I'll read the print, you read the response. Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and feelings of being especially privileged. Other beliefs are expansive and lead the way into wider and deeper sympathies. Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding children's days with fears of unknown calamities. Other beliefs are like sunshine, blessing children with the warmth of happiness. Some beliefs are divisive, separating the saved from the unsaved, friends from enemies. Other beliefs are bonds in a world community where sincere differences beautify the pattern. Some beliefs are like blinders, shutting off the power to choose one's own direction. Other beliefs are like gateways, opening wide vistas for exploration. Some beliefs weaken a person's selfhood. They blight the growth of resourcefulness. Other beliefs nurture self-confidence and enrich the feeling of personal worth. Some beliefs are rigid, like the body of death, impotent in a changing world. Other beliefs are pliable, like the young sapling, ever growing with an upward thrust of life. Lori Douglas and I were having a conversation about my work here, and she suggested I use a little pulpit time to share with you something about myself, so folks would feel a little more comfortable to talk to me about whatever it is they would like to talk about. So, long, long ago, far away, a beautiful maybe we won't start there. Suffice it to say that I was baptized a Christian at 1 month old, without anyone asking my permission, and I was raised in my family's tradition. Our church was just 1 block down the street, so I could take myself to church and Sunday school from a very young age, and have continued to do so all of my life. My passion for spirituality was what eventually led to me being ordained a minister. Now, let me tell you about my exposure to Unitarian Universalism. My aunt and uncle attended the UU Church in Erie, Pennsylvania, because it let Uncle John believe whatever he wanted to believe. That's all I knew about that. Later, I was very kindly welcomed into that congregation to act as the officiant for my aunt's funeral. Later, at Lancaster Theological Seminary, I met a couple of UU students who never really spoke about what they believed. That's all I knew about them. UUism remained a mystery. I answered an ad in the newspaper for a religious educator for a liberal church in Appleton, Wisconsin. After the interview, I told Crystal I was sorry I would not get the position because these were very clearly people dedicated to the deepening faith of themselves and their children. Surely they would not hire me. The ink was barely dry on my degree from a Christian seminary. Lo and behold, I did receive and accept an offer to serve them. Once I started at the fellowship, I clearly had a lot of catching up to do. Early on, I learned there were pagans in the community, so I asked the minister who could tell me about paganism, and he suggested Chester. We made an appointment to meet. I figured half an hour ought to cover it. 2.5 hours later, I had to beg off because Crystal was expecting me home for supper. From him, I learned an important mantra. Remember this. All Wiccans are pagans. Not all pagans are Wiccans. I continued to learn much from him and the other pagans in the community, and I was invited often to participate in their ceremonies. I learned from the UU Buddhists about meditation and the wisdom of the Buddha. Never having mastered the art of sitting for long periods of time, I admired their dedication and commitment to this way of doing soul work. Some were on an Ayurvedic diet. Many made retreats in silence with hours of meditation. A few sought guidance from a lama. Clearly, this spiritual path enriched many lives and contributed to the health of the community. Conversation with humanists within the community was always interesting, and I found them to be deeply ethical, committed to the use of reason, and very proud of the humanist history of the Appleton congregation. They always expected the sermon to be well-crafted and enlightening. Often scientists, either professional or amateur, they contributed much to the children's education program and adult learning regarding science as a source of wisdom. I learned empathy for this group at a regional conference in which I made a special effort to attend the humanist workshop. The leader continued to try to get a really good argument going because that's what humanists had been doing for some time. They were clearly uncomfortable that their central place in UUism was declining as more and more spiritual people came to UU congregations. More modern humanists do not want to argue. They delight in true conversation. The only humanists with which I could not get along were the Hegelians, but then few others could either. They existed on the fringe of the congregation and had no tolerance for any form of spirituality. They could be mean-spirited and deliberately confrontational to other members and were the official hecklers to the preachers. Following a sermon in which I shared some of the spiritual and religious influences in my life, a Hegelian rose to his feet, during the congregational response and challenged me. How could I claim my Lutheran heritage when Luther said, and he gave a quotation that indicated sometimes Luther disparaged intellectual pursuits. I was not familiar with that quote, but it sure sounded like Luther to me. Then an answer popped from nowhere into my head. That is exactly why I can claim my Lutheran heritage. Luther said and did some of the most cruel, stupid, and foolish things. Yet he is regarded by religious scholars, including Roman Catholics, as a great theologian of his time. If he could do those things, then there's hope for me. I can rise each morning believing I can do better today than I did yesterday for as long as I draw breath. Liberal UU Christians taught me a lot about how to blend Christian theology and values with a disparate congregation. Many found a way to be part of the community because of the diversity they valued and practiced their Christian spirituality privately. They contributed special music and readings to the Christmas Eve services. For a time, there was even a Christian prayer group in the congregation. A couple members were training to be shamanic practitioners and shared their experiences with an adult group. They led us on a spirit journey using drumming and gentle guidance. I found it a peaceful experience, and my vision was useful in dealing with a physical problem with which I was struggling at the time. As you might expect, others were skeptical and concerned about these people, but somehow it all worked out. At General Assembly, I attended the morning worship that included a UU minister and his wife performing kagura, a Shinto ritual ceremonial dance. The term is a contraction of kami no kura, seat of God, indicating the presence of the kami in the practice. It was beautiful and clearly meaningful to them, though as a non-practitioner, I could not understand the deepest meaning of the dance. At a Midwest District Assembly, I decided to attend the Jewish evening Sabbath service with a colleague. It was wonderful to be with UU Jews who were sharing their heritage and beliefs with all of us non-Jews. Suddenly, for no apparent reason, my friend was in tears as the community recited the mourner's Kaddish. We talked after the service, and it became clear to me we may leave our faith heritage, but it may not leave us, often returning with a rushing surprise. Beryl's father had died recently, and saying this special prayer from her heritage helped release both pain and bring comfort. Then there's the story of Prerna, born into a family in India who were deeply immersed in Hindu practice and teaching. She was adopted by an American uncle so she would have better educational opportunities. When she and her family moved to Appleton, she struggled to find a place to belong for herself and her children. Someone told her about the UU Fellowship as a welcoming place for a variety of people. Serendipitously, she came to the service focused on Diwali, the 5-day festival of lights celebrated by millions of Hindu, Sikh, and Jains. Diwali is a festival of new beginnings and triumph with good over evil and light over darkness. She immediately sensed this was a place for her. She shared a variety of gifts with the fellowship over the years, and one especially appreciated was cooking Indian dishes as a fundraiser for the fellowship's children's playground. UUs of various spiritual paths, political views, come together to put their money, their energy, and their passion into a variety of social action, social justice programs. They do a great deal locally and sometimes globally to make life more wonderful for all of Earth's creatures and the Earth itself. A fellowship member, a nurse, spent a month a year in Africa in a women's initiative health program. She presented a program on this at the fellowship. One of their tasks was providing sterile scalpels for female circumcision, also known as female genital mutilation. As a feminist, I was horrified at what I interpreted as support for this dangerous and deadly practice. I tried to listen with an open heart and mind, and I came to understand that they were saving lives now and gaining the trust that would eventually lead to the long-term goal of stopping this practice. You have heard a lot about my experience within UU community and the wider movement. You know how the diversity within UUism has enriched my own spiritual journey and challenged my mind and perspective on a number of things. So what? If I, a person raised in an almost all-white, middle-class community with very little religious diversity, could embrace all these perspectives, anyone can. As a community, we can enjoy and learn from others, even if we don't totally understand their views. We can accept each other's flaws and foibles by assuming everyone has the best of intentions and needs a fair hearing. We can model for the wider community outside these walls the very best methods of communication to foster not just tolerance, but real appreciation for the pluralism we embrace. UUism is a really big tent in which people of various backgrounds, racial groups, belief systems, political perspectives, economic station in life, and worldview can come together to enrich their own lives and the wider community. They can support and encourage each other without necessarily seeing eye to eye, and they can learn nonviolent ways of communicating, but only if everyone is committed to this endeavor, however difficult it might be. One thing I have learned from UUs is that they are willing to scooch over and make room for one more person, idea, or adventure. May it always be so. Thank you. I think we have just a couple of minutes, so I would like to invite any congregational response to what I said this morning. There's not even a humanist ready to pop up and challenge me. I know that isn't a common practice here at this congregation. It is in many. All right, then.
I've been thinking all along this morning about writing a letter to the editor precisely about how narrow some people's idea of religion is. how narrow a view they have of their own faith, much less of anybody else's. And how can we expand the eyes of the people to see more?
Oh, I would love you to write that. Yes, indeed. Being a Christian, I know many people have terribly misguided ideas about my faith, and they never bothered to ask me what I really believe. I remember one humanist came up and pointed his finger at me and said, "Well, now, Anne, how can you believe that silly story about Noah and the ark?" Why do you think I believe that is an historic fact? It's simply a spiritual story. Those kinds of mistakes, whether it's about Judaism, there was a day when people actually thought Jews ate babies, especially about the Far Eastern religions, about which we know much less. So you write that. I want to see the editor's response. Anyone else? Yes?
I would like to say that a fundamentalist atheist is no different than a fundamentalist Christian.
Well said. Oh, I'm sorry if you didn't hear, especially at home. His response was, a fundamentalist atheist is no different than a fundamentalist Christian.
Or Islamic.
Or Jew, or any religious tradition. We all need to open up, see and hear. Okay, now if you'd like to, oh, another one, wonderful.
Oh, I was just reminded of a story, anecdote that I read recently. Adlai Stevenson, who ran for president and lost, had been a Unitarian. And somebody asked him about this once, why are you a Unitarian? And he said, well, it's a universal religion. And they were curious, well, who do you pray to? He said, we pray to whom it may concern.
Very good. Okay, now I really do have to see that things move along. So if you would rise in body and spirit, we will sing hymn 1008, 1008 in the teal hymnal, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
In our tradition, congregations exist because of the generous support of members and friends. It is our privilege and our responsibility to ensure the health and future of this fellowship. To this end, your offerings to support the ministry of this fellowship, whether by pledge or donation, may be offered online. There are several ways that you can give. You can mail checks to the office, drop them in our mailbox, or call the office to make other arrangements. We're also equipped to accept donations through the Venmo app. Payments through this app should be made to UUFCC offering. If you would like your donation to apply to anything other than the operating fund, like our second helping, for example, please indicate your intentions in the checks memo line. If you are with us for the first time, do not feel obligated to give today. You are our guest. And now Ryan will play the offertory music. And now it's time to consider things that are happening at UUFCC in our community. Please remember to check your weekly UUFCC updates. They include a calendar for connecting via Zoom or in person. And if you want to have announcements highlighted, please send the notice to Book of Life at uufcc.org. The worship associate will include it. And today I have these reminders. First, the Caring Committee will meet this coming Wednesday at 10 a.m. We'll meet here. We're seeking new members. Please consider, if you have concerns regarding Zoom connections, bring your laptop or your smartphone and we'll help one another. See Herb if you have any questions. Herb, can you? Unfortunately, we've had cases of COVID recently. And one of the things that I would just bring this to your attention, we may need to be a little more cautious than we have been. Consequently, there is no potluck after the service today. It's very sad. I was really looking forward to it. Another thing that I need to remind you is that we have, whenever we change administratively, all kinds of keys go who knows where. And Anna, our office administrator, would really like to, if you're not using the key, please turn it into Anna. And the fobs too, yes. And let's see. The only other thing I have is the Blanchard House Museum will have a Juneteenth celebration on May 18th. It's at the Blanchard House Museum as they celebrate May 20, the actual day when Florida slaves were free. Our closing words today were written by Ralph Waldo Emerson. A person will worship something, have no doubt about that. We think our tribute is paid in secret in the dark recesses of our hearts, but it will out. That which dominates our imaginations and our thoughts will determine our lives and character. Therefore, it behooves us to be careful what we worship, for what we are worshiping, we are becoming. Now, as Cheryl extinguishes the chalice, let us recite the words in the order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of hope, the flower of commitment, the warmth of community. May these ideals shine in our lives and warm our hearts until we are together again. Now we'll go in peace. And following Reverend Barker's benediction, we will close the service by singing hymn 131, Love Will Guide Us.
This benediction is from the Jewish tradition. May the Eternal bless you and protect you. May the Eternal smile on you and favor you. May the Eternal befriend you and prosper you. Blessed be.
Love